friends, welcome to another colour along. Today we are colouring from Serendipity. We're colouring this picture. It's called the Original White Oak Cafe and Bar. Well, that's what the cafe is called. This is called Suddenly. Suddenly because it's spring and everyone's falling in love. Couples here, everyone's got, even the snails are falling in love, except for this little guy, this little cat. He's all alone inside looking out, looking a little bit peeved at the whole situation. So this is the last of my April Colour Club pack colour alongs that I'll be doing in April. I've been looking forward to doing this one. I did play with a little bit of a palette for this. So I wanted to have a spring colour. So I picked out some colours there and to play with. And I just had a little bit of a play where you give us a good base to work from and then we'll go off as we go. I do have a sheet of paper and a sheet of acetate under this page to protect the page below it, because I am planning to use a little bit of colour markers. And I'm going to start with, I think, the sky. Now, I don't want the sky to be overpowering, but I do want it to be blue. Now, I have chosen, this is called Blue Grey 030. We'll put the names for all the things that I'm using up in the top corner. For the Ohuhus, I've got an old set. The new sets have a whole new numbering system, and I'll include the new numbering system, which is universal to all the Ohuhu sets, as well as the set that I'm using. So you can pick whichever one you've got and whichever one you're using and just play with that. So I was going to do the sky blue and see where that leaves us. So let's just do that. I'm just going to quite simply, I think there's a shrub here, so I might leave that green. Do a blue around the rest of it. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you've been colouring and enjoying your colouring. I figured Serendipity was a good book to colour from in spring, or as spring in the Northern Hemisphere comes down. Well, that's a little bit darker than I thought it might be. So I'm just going to grab a lighter blue grey. So this is Blue Grey 031. Now let's just see how that goes, working alongside that 030. I sort of want a spring palette, but a little bit muted. So I'm going to roll that Blue Grey 11 right out to about here, where I'm going to bring back in the Blue Grey 030 for the base is a little bit darker. And that'll balance my page for me as well. All right, now I have this tree. I'm going to base that tree in this colour called Buttercup Yellow. All right, now I'm going to grab this colour. It's called cream colour. It's a light sort of beigey colour. And I think this is going to be really lovely to use on the rendered walls or the stonework of this building. I'm also going to do that cream colour as a base under here. Right, I'm still on my cream colour because I've got this brickwork here for this chimney, but I want to also do like the cement part or the rendery part in that buttercup yellow. Alrighty, I have this colour. It's called Shadow Pink. Now I'm going to get stuck straight into some Shadow Pink. Sort of a nice muted pink. I think even this awning is going to look great with some stripy pink. Now I did think that these window frames would look great in that pink as well. And we're still with our shadow pink. I want to think our little birdhouse is going to have matching colours. And while I've got my pink out, let's give ourselves here a pink teapot. Right, I have this colour, it's called Antique Fuchsia. It's just a little bit darker. And it's going to enable me to sort of indicate some shadows. All right, this is a colour called Reddish Brass. And we do seem to have some sort of beam things here. So let's get that reddish brass into play. I think this is supposed to be that beam as well. All right, let's get these bricks also in that reddish brass. And let's bring that buttercup yellow. I've got all these little spots. I'm just going to do those in buttercup as well. All right, I'm bringing in my cream colour again because I want this to match. And our buttercup yellow. I'm just going to add some green in just for fun. This is a colour called Seedling Green. Maybe a little pot plant there. Got these leaves, let's get them as well. And I think this looks like a little pot full of lavender. All right, I'm going to bring in some pencils. This is a colour called May Green on my Polychromos range. I'm just going to play with these leaves. This is another colour, and it is called Chromium Green Opaque. I'm just going to do that to all the leaves. And back to our chromium green opaque. I'm just going to add some more colour and texture into these darker greens down here. Now I've got this colour called forest green. Okay, I'm still working with my forest green. I think this pole should be a forest green. All right, this is a colour called hooker's green. And this is a deep cobalt green. All right, I'm going to bring in some red. This is vivid red because I've got all these hearts. I've got that heart. I've also got this Vespa. I think this Vespa should be red. And just while I do this, I'm going to bring in a scarlet because I want to have highlights in that red. So I'm going to use scarlet as the highlight. And then bring back the vivid red to just give the bulk of that colour. I'm going to do the same thing. Well, I love that scarlet colour. And then our vivid red. I think this pot would do well to be a red. So that was scarlet, and this is vivid. And what about these flowers? All right, this is a colour called cadmium yellow. I just want to bring in some sort of terracotta-y feels. You know, I think this could be a fun little terracotta-y like pot down here. There's a colour called burnt carmine. I don't think it's dark enough. Oh, I might go straight for some dark red. Maybe some red violet. This is red violet. All right, this is some brown ochre. And I just want to pull back a little bit on this terracotta colour. But I'm going to leave that bright orange as a highlight. And then I'm going to bring in some burnt sienna. Oh, I've got that burnt sienna out. I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing into our columns. All right, I'm bringing in that brown ochre again. And our burnt sienna. Yeah, sienna again. Back to our brown ochre. And our burnt sienna. So while I've got my brown ochre, let's just play around with this tree a little bit. And our burnt sienna, just add a little bit more depth to that shadow. All right, I'm just going to play with this sky a little bit. I want to add in a little bit more colour. This is a colour called light ultramarine. Actually, before I do that, let's just grab this blue-grey 30 that we used at the base here, because I want to just add in a little bit of blue on the outside of the tree trunk here, just to sort of balance out. There seems to be a big gap here. Just going to sort of run that blue up. Even down. And then I'm just going to swap over to the blue grey 11. And then I'm going to bring back in my ultramarine, light ultramarine. I think I'm going to go darker just with a straight ultramarine, just down for the bases here. Right, this is sky blue. It's just a bit lighter than the light ultramarine, and I just want to bring that up into this sky. Just going to play with a little bit of light cobalt turquoise up here. And back to our sky blue. Right, I'm going to bring in this colour. It's called dark pink. I'm just going to add some little darker pink details. This table even could be some of that dark pink. And this is our antique fuchsia. Some of our shadow pink. All right, this is a red violet. And this is a light red violet. Back to our straight red violet. I'm just going to add in a little bit of light magenta. And I'm just going to bring in some of that forest green. So I'm imagining this little shrub just here. All right, I'm going back to my cadmium yellow. Let's add some bright orange into this, just to throw a spanner into the works. Oh, there's this love heart for the snails I've missed. Best be remedying that. Okay, so let's do the same thing to these little planters up here. This is our brown ochre. While I've got that brown ochre, I'm just going to do some weather on this seat. And this is our burnt sienna. All right, this is our warm grey 3. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of sky blue into those windows as well. This is one grade 2. I just want to put a little bit of texture in here. And a little bit of warm grey 3. All right, this is a colour called Sunflower. This time we added some golds into this picture. What do you think about a gold watering pot can? I think even these flowers could be gold. I'm just going to bring that warm grey 2 in here to knock back that white a little bit. Now this is a warm grey 6. And a warm grey 5. Let's get these tyres happening. And yeah, I think dark pink. Let's go dark pink inside our lettering. And this is our red violet. All right, this is a neutral grey 040. Just going to add in some and go over these wheels a little bit. That would work better as a flat colour. Just going to blend in that and add some little metal bits. I also might add in just a little bit of that. To our smoke. And let's bring in the whiter one. This is a neutral grey 023. And this is back to our neutral grey 040. Just want to add in little bits of shadow and I'll bring back the neutral grey 023. Just going to add a little bit of shadow with this awning. All right, let's get some yellows. I've got this Naples yellow. Just add in a little bit of life to this. It's not going to need much. And I've got this light yellow ochre, light yellow ochre. Going back to our Naples yellow. And our light yellow ochre. All right, just a tad, a little bit of scarlet there. And I think a little bit of light yellow ochre on the insides of these flowers. What about some dark sepia, burnt sienna, that's what that is. Burnt sienna for the centre of these flowers. Brown ochre. Okay, let's look at these snails for a second. The shells could start out with a brown ochre. And then I'm going to finish them off with a light yellow ochre. And what about some May green for their slimy little bodies? And I'm bringing my light cobalt turquoise in just for this lamp. And what about some sunflower for that? All right, let's look at these little birds. I'm going to make these ones have like a red-breasted something or other. Robin. So that was scarlet, and this is a vivid red. What about some buttercup yellow for those wings? I think some cream colour. And I'm going to bring in some of that sunflower beak. And while I've got that out, I'm going to do all these beaks with the sunflower. All right, this is crimson. I'm just going to get these lavender. And what do you think? Some of these bottles should be crimson as well. And what about some brown ochre? All right, I'm bringing my buttercup yellow back in for my little squirrels. All right, let's get our cream colour and use that for the underbellies. And bring back that shadow pink just for the little bits around their nose. Right, I'm going to keep going on these squirrels. Actually, what I might do is throw some of that buttercup yellow onto the acorn there. Right, this is brown ochre. There we go, some Pompeian red. Put a little bit of Pompeian red in there, just for fun. go back to our brown ochre. Maybe give this one a little bit more light around the eyes. And a little bit of Pompeian red. Now let's do some burnt sienna as well. First of all, for the top of the acorn. I've got these two birds, and I think I'm going to start with some shadow pink. I think we've got enough browns. Let's go shadow pink. What do you think about adding a little bit of dark pink? Wing here. What about some of this crimson? Actually, it's good. Let's go with whatever this is, light red violet. And this is just plain red violet. I think I'm going to do a similar thing with these owls. This is antique fuchsia. And we're leaving their eyes white. I'm going to make their wings this red violet. Now what about some grey, warm grey 5 for our little claws? And we're back to our brown ochre. Just want to add a little bit more shadow to our little watering can down here. All right, what have we got? We've got a warm grey too. And I'm going to add in some cobblestones. Actually, I'm going to just sort of warm grey tea this. All right, what about this warm grey 4? A little bit of shadow under these guys. And I think I need a little bit more shadow underneath the veg of the paving the sidewalk here. So let's bring in some of that reddish brass. Just want to add some spots to our bricks. Some spots to our birds. All right, this is our ultramarine. Okay, for a lovely blue bottle there. And what about some flowers on our teapot? I think a little bit more of the blue coming through on these curtains might help We've got some May green for our little cactus bowl. Add some green into our cactus as well. And some of this cobalt, white cobalt turquoise. All right, we're almost there, folks. I have here some white ink pen. This is a jelly roll. I'm just going to add some highlights. Well, guys, you know what? I think we're done. There's a bit of an epic colour along today. It always is when you use pencils, isn't it? It takes a bit longer, but you get a really fun result at the end, so it's worth it. I hope you enjoyed colouring along with me today. We coloured Suddenly from Serendipity. It's also part of the April Colour Club pack at rjhampson.com, which includes everything that I'll be colouring in April. I do a colour club each month, and you can just join in with that, or if you have the books, you can colour along with the books. I'm looking forward to May's colour alongs. I've selected some fun ones for May, and I'll no doubt be revealing those any moment now. But until then, I'm going to say thanks so much for watching, guys. Thanks so much for colouring along. And for now, I'm going to say goodbye, but I will no doubt see you in another video. Until then,